In this world, time is a currency. After you turn 25 years old, you stop aging and a clock on your arm starts counting down as you must survive by working for time, or you could die when the clock hits 0. Hello there, scene recapped here. Today I'm going to recap a movie called In Time. We begin the movie with the main character named Will Salas. We get to see how much time he has left on his arm as he wakes up and gets ready for work. He heads to the kitchen and his mom asks him why he came home late last night. He goes on to explain that he put in overtime for her 50th birthday but still looks young, as you can't age once you turn 25. He gives her a bottle of champagne and wishes her a happy birthday. She goes on to stress about how much bills and loans they owe as Will tries to suggest he could make extra on the side, and she warns him not to fight for time as he could risk to lose his life as he may run out of time. She tells him she has 2 days of work and won't be at home for the next 2 days and should meet him at the bus stop tomorrow to pay for her loan. She goes on to give him 30 minutes for lunch as he heads off to work. He heads out to work, and on his way a girl from his neighborhood asks him for some time as she can't use her time since she hasn't turned 25 yet. He gives her 4 minutes and gets to work with his co-worker friend and notice the price of coffee increased from 3 to 4 minutes but still buys it. While he's at work, they walk past a pair of workers fighting for time. This is what Will's mom was talking about when she told him not to fight. He finishes work and heads to a bar and goes to have a sit with his friend from work. His friend points over to a man with over 100 years of time on his arm and that he's been paying for everyone's drinks the whole night. Will approaches the man and warns him that he isn't safe here and could risk getting robbed of his time and die. The man seems nonchalant about the whole situation and doesn't seem to be worried. While all of this is happening, a man has alerted his friends to most likely rob the man or fight him for his time. As Will is trying to convince the man to leave, the men who were alerted barge in and everyone rushes out. Will's friend tries to leave with him and convince Will that the man was looking to get robbed and not get involved in between the gang and the man. Will's co-worker ultimately leaves as Will watches hitting. The gang leader tells the man how he likes the amount of time he has and suggests they fight for it. The man asks to go to the restroom as one of the thugs follow him and wait for him outside. While the man is in the bathroom vomiting, Will knocks the gang member out with the door. He helps the man escape as the gang leader sees them leaving and sends the rest of the men to catch them. They start chasing Will and the man tells Will that he knows what he's doing and doesn't want any help. The gang get in their car and start chasing the two. Will and the man run of and break in an empty warehouse, and the thugs try to break in as well but fail. As one of the members tell the gang leader they know who Will is, the man and Will have a moment of relief as Will questions the man on why he is walking around showing of the amount of time he has. The man goes to introduce himself as Mark and Will does the same. He offers Will a drink and he takes a sip. Will tells the man that he will be safe till morning. Will goes on to say that he is from New Greenwich, a place where the people who are rich in time reside. Will looks at his arm and see he has a few hours counting down as the man suggests he could help give him some time. The man says that people with a lot of time need to die as overpopulation will be a problem and that everyone can't leave forever. He tells Will that price of everything in the ghetto keep rising every day to make sure that people die and keep the population stable. The two doze off and the man wakes up and approaches Will to give his entire century, leaving him only with 5 minutes left. Will wakes up and discovers he is over 100 years and that the man is gone. He looks out the window and sees them. He's waiting for his clock to count down and dies, leading to his body falling off the edge of a bridge before Will can save him. Will heads over to his friend's place and tells him that the man from the bar had given his 100 years to him and that he had died. His friend tells him he could get killed with that amount of time he has. Will goes to give him 10 years as a gift and also how long they've been friends. He tells his friend he's taking his mom to New Greenwich. We cut to Will's mom as she's going on a bus and realizes that it's 2 hours to get on but doesn't have enough time. She tries convincing the bus driver that her son will pay the other half, but the bus driver suggests she better get home or she might run out of time. She starts panicking as she realizes she needs to be fast. Will waits with flowers in his hand at the bus stop and notices that she wasn't on the bus. In panic, Will starts running to the next bus stop as he fears she might be low on time, while Will's mom is trying to get help but to no avail. With only a few seconds left, she sees Will from a distance and starts running faster. Will paces towards her direction as he can tell she's running out of time. They close in on each other but drops dead in Will's arms as he mourns her loss in the street. We cut to a group of timekeepers discovering the body of the man Will saved from the bar, and start investigating on how a man with 100 years is dead. Assuming he was killed, they leave the scene but notice a surveillance camera at the bridge where the man jumped. Will orders a Uber to New Greenwich. And as he keeps leaving the zones to go to New Greenwich, the more time he pays, he eventually arrives to New Greenwich. And starts running as if he is in a hurry but realizes he has a lot of time and is used to moving faster due to not having enough time. He heads over to a hotel and on his way there, he notices a woman staring at him. The timekeepers get a hold of the footage the morning the man died and see Will at the scene. At this point they came to the conclusion that Will killed the man for his time, and continue to track him down. Will wakes up and spends the morning eating breakfast at the hotel as the woman from the day before stares at him at a different table. While the timekeepers eventually discovers Will's identity, we cut to a casino where Will spends the evening and joins the table playing poker. The man across the table asks his name and introduces himself. The man suggests that Will comes from a lot of time since he is gambling with it. They both bet 50 years on a deck. As they are playing, the woman who was staring at Will joins the table. The man decides to bet 200 more years as Will bets all the remaining time he has, leaving him with only seconds left. He wins the game and takes all the years that were bet. 1,100 years to be exact. We later learn that the woman was the man's daughter named Sylvia. She invites Will to a party for a rematch with her father as Will accepts the invite. Shows up to the party and gets introduced to the man's mother-in-law and wife. Will gets to talking with Sylvia and she later asks him if he really comes from time while they're dancing. She says he comes of as someone who is from the ghetto. Meanwhile, timekeepers are growing closer to catching Will as they head off to play the rematch that was arranged but are interrupted by the timekeepers who barge in at the party and circle Will. They take him to a room to see how much time he has and ask him where he got so much time. Will tells them that he got it from the man who died and won some of it. They confiscate all the years he had and leave him with only enough time to travel back to the ghetto. He asks why they are investigating a man who jumped off the bridge by himself as a murder. Will knocks out the timekeepers that he's in the room with and attempts to escape. He attacks more guards as he goes downstairs and grabs Sylvia at gunpoint. He uses Sylvia as a means to escape and knocks out one of the drivers outside. They drive away and are followed by the timekeepers and the chase is on. As Will speeds on the highway, gets hit at back of the car and swirls around, leaving him to drive in reverse. One of the timekeepers crash in a truck and lose track of Will and Sylvia. Will notices he has an hour left and asks Sylvia for some time. She refuses to give him as she fears he might kill her cause she still believes he killed the man with A from the bar. He tells her to hide her clock or she could be in danger. As the next day approaches, they continue driving but crash due to spikes on the road as the car rolls, leading them to fall unconscious. The gang from the bar find them at the crash site and as the leader robs Sylvia of her time, they hear the sirens of the timekeepers in the distance and flee the scene. Sylvia wakes up and sees she has went from 10 years down to 31 minutes. Will also wakes up and tells her not worry as he gives her some time. The timekeepers discover the crash site of Will and Sylvia but not their bodies. Coming to the conclusion they are still alive, Will and Sylvia heads over to his friend's place who he gave a decade to and is told by his tearful wife that he died and spent all his time drinking himself to death. Running low on time and close to death, they run over to a pawn shop as it's closing and Sylvia offers her earrings for some time. The owner opens up and give them 2 days for the earrings. They go on to call the timekeepers and Will demands 1,000 years as ransom for Sylvia. The timekeepers tell Sylvia's father that much time Will is demanding and does nothing about it. Will and Sylvia spend the night at his home where he lived with his mom. Sylvia asks about his family and Will responds that his mother timed out and his father died fighting for time. Sylvia assumes that Will hates her because of where she is from, but he replies that no one can control where they come from. The next morning they head to a phone booth so that Sylvia can call for help as Will gives her a gun to protect herself as they kiss each other for the first time. Sylvia calls him and condemns her father for not paying for the ransom for her. While she's on the phone, the timekeeper is closing in on Will and is about to shoot him. Sylvia sees him and is quick to react by shooting the timekeeper in the chest. They go and take some time from him as he lays on the ground wounded. They take his car and drive off. As they're driving, Sylvia suggests that they can't just be driving around with a timekeeper's car. They wait on the side of the road and decide to seize a Uber on the highway and rob a customer's time and earrings, leaving her with only a day. They watch on the news in the car parked somewhere as they watch the news report on Will and Sylvia for being wanted for supposedly murdering a rich man of his time and on the run for shooting a timekeeper. Sylvia's father is told by the timekeeper that she doesn't want to be saved. The father blames himself for inviting Will and is angry that he was fooled. The timekeeper lets the father know he issued a warrant for Sylvia's arrest and should not attempt to contact her or he will also be arrested. But he suggests he could pay him years for the trouble she has caused. The timekeeper replies that no amount of time could make up for what Will and Sylvia did. We cut to a time loan where a woman struggles to pay for her loan as Will and Sylvia drive and crash straight into the building right in front of the vault. They get out and steal as many time capsules as they can. They tell everyone that they can take as much time as they want. Everyone is inserting themselves with much time as they can until the timekeepers arrive. The timekeepers chase everyone from the scene, while Will is on a spree of donating all the time he stole to people who are in need. He also leaves for his friend from work's girlfriend a time capsule while she's hanging clothes. Sylvia's father watches on the news as they report that they are wanted fugitives. The dad says that he gave her everything and she's still ungrateful, while his wife replies that he was too controlling and that could have been the cause on why she's doing such impulsive decisions. We cut to a hotel where Sylvia and Will are checked in playing cards. The timekeepers, still on the hunt for the two, find the hotel they've been hiding in. Will hears a noise outside and looks out the window and realize it's the timekeepers. They attempt to leave as the timekeepers spot them at the end of the hallway and run a different direction, and barge in a woman's room, and break a window to escape. They jump out the window and land on the top of a car and make a run for it. They look back to see if the timekeepers are still chasing them. The head of the timekeepers jumps out the window and lands on the same car and ensues a foot chase. Will and Sylvia run in a narrow alleyway and climb up a ladder, while the timekeeper yells at them to stop and shoots at them but misses. The chase continues on a building rooftop as the timekeeper still attempts to shoot at them but misses again. Will shoots back in an attempt to slow the timekeeper down but shows no signs of slowing down. They get off the top of the building and board a bus, but the driver is hesitant as he sees that they are wanted fugitives. Will bribes the driver by giving him time and he lets them on the bus while timekeeper tries to catch the bus before it leaves but was unlucky. The next day Will and Sylvia check in a different hotel to continue laying low. While they're checking in, a man walks and sees them. We cut to the gang lining up a group of men against a fence and interrogate them on where they got their time from and threatens that he will clear the time of their arms. The gang leader tells a member to clear the time of one of the man who won't confess, leading him to die. The man who saw Sylvia and Will at the hotel confesses that he knows where they are willing to comply and go with the gang to show who gave them the time they have. Will and Sylvia are at the hotel watching TV and start kissing as the gang barge in and hold them both at gunpoint. The gang leader says that the reason he doesn't get chased by the timekeepers is because he steals time from people in his neighborhood, the ghetto. While Will stole time from rich people from New Greenwich, the leader offers Will to fight for his time, as Will replies that even if he wins the fight the rest of the gang members will kill him, and wants to know what will happen to Sylvia once the fight is over. The leader says he will take her time, meaning he will kill her. The two then engage in a battle of time as they both transfer time from their arm as Will tries to get all the time is losing. The gang leader appears to be winning and it comes to a point where Will is left with seconds counting down to 0. He stresses until the very last second but overpowers the gang leader and he starts losing time while Will is gaining all the time. Everyone in the room watches intensely as Will, who's clearly winning, leaving the leader with 10 seconds and counting down, pulls out a gun from his shoe and shoots 3 of the members and points it at the leader as his clock counts down to 0 and eventually dies. The two leave the hotel. The timekeepers arrive at the scene where they question the men about the person that gave them all the time they have, and we see that the gang killed all the men. Sylvia and Will are on the rooftop as the two see that people lining up in front of a time loan. Will realizes that they will keep raising the prices of everything. It doesn't make a difference that he stole all that time and gave it away. The cost of living will still be expensive. Sylvia suggests that they need to steal more time. Back in New Greenwich, Sylvia's father walks into his building on his way to his office surrounded by security personnel. One of the guards notice Sylvia following them as all of the guards pull out their weapons and aim at Sylvia. She says she's willing to surrender herself, but only under the condition that she will be handed over to her father instead of the timekeepers. Unbeknownst to her father and the guards, Will sneaks in from behind with a gun to Sylvia's father's head and tell the security to drop their guns. They are first hesitant but comply. The two take Sylvia's father at gunpoint to his safe that's in his office, and continue to ask for his password, but he refuses as Sylvia tells her father that it can't be her birthday, as he regrets that day and tell Will to enter his birth date as the password. The safe is unlocked and they see a time capsule with 1,000,000 years. The father tells them that giving away the 1,000,000 years to people would lead to suffering in people, thinking they could leave forever. Sylvia replies that everyone deserves to be able to afford daily needs without having to pay a lot of time. He continues to say that not everyone deserves to have a lot of time to live and that only a few individuals can live forever, referring to the people that reside in New Greenwich who are wealthy in time. Infuriated, Will cocks his gun and aims at him but withdraws as he says that no one should be immortal. Sylvia locks him in his office and shoots the password lock to ensure as he is trapped. This alerts the timekeepers back at their headquarters and learn that 1,000,000 years in New Greenwich has been stolen. Everyone except the head of the timekeepers is convinced that it's some kind of mistake as he runs out the building to go find out. He's driving in his car looking for the thieves, suspecting it could be Sylvia and Will. The two are in a car planning where to give away the time they've stolen, and if it works they could steal more time to give away. The timekeeper is still on the road looking for the two as he spots them on the highway heading the opposite direction and makes a U-turn to follow them as he informs the rest of the timekeepers through his phone that he found them. He demands that the timekeepers should shoot on sight, but he is told that it is not allowed in New Greenwich, and he replies that they deserve for stealing 1,000,000 years. The timekeepers round up and block the roads on the highway with guns as the head of the timekeepers reminds them that they cannot leave New Greenwich as they start shooting at Will and Sylvia's car, but Will speeds ahead and drives through the timekeepers and their cars, on his way to the ghetto. They ensue a car chase but is short-lived as the two are hit by the timekeeper and crash. Will gets out and as the girl from his neighborhood approaches him and hands her the 1,000,000 years and tells her to go give it to the time loan. Meanwhile, the timekeeper aims his gun at them as people start surrounding the three. The time lone nearby notifies the public that they have time, causing a frenzy and people scattered all over the place, and gives an opportunity for the two to run. The timekeeper driving around in his car searching for Sylvia and Willie finds them but can't get past a barrier with his car, so he runs on foot. They cross paths as he points his gun at the two, and Will tells him that is from the ghetto, and the timekeeper admits it, and his job is to make sure no one leaves it. Will replies by saying that him and Sylvia's need time or they might die and not face justice. The timekeeper suddenly realizes he has a few seconds left and drops dead. Will and Sylvia are about to meet the same fate as they decide who should have more time to make it to the timekeeper's car. Sylvia convinces Will that he has a higher chance of making it with a few seconds left on both their clocks. They kiss for possibly the last time. They both ultimately decide to make a run to the timekeeper's car as both their clocks are nearing zero. Sylvia is far behind as Will finally makes it to the car and is able to fill his clock with time and heads towards Sylvia, still trying to make it to the car. The two run as fast as they can to one another, and as Sylvia seems to run out of time, she falls into Will's arms as he tries to save her. He manages to save her as they both hold each other out of relief. They hug each other as the timekeepers and Sylvia's father learn that the million years is being shared with everyone and accept that there is nothing they can do. While the news reports on what's happening, people from the ghetto who could previously not afford to leave zones pay to go to New Greenwich. The timekeepers, in defeat, see how the time system collapses. The two, still on the run, are parked in front of a building and get out the car with guns, while Sylvia tells Will that this was the bigger time bank she was talking about.